It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Yeah, we're already to the Thursday show, so it means just tons of audio.
Yeah.
Because we just get backed up on the audio. I just want to play this from JD Vance because you've seen it all over X. We've played some of the audio. In fact, I think we played it yesterday or the day before. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton all saying absolutely no funding for illegal immigrants. None. JD Vance was asked that question the other day. Here's was his response.
The guy in the back, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You responded to a post on X of Chuck Schumer on the House floor back in 1996, railing against illegal immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. You said Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens for breaking the law. Why has Chuck Schumer changed his stance?
That's a good question. Actually, it's a very tough question. Asking me to get in the head of Chuck Schumer is not a place I particularly want to be, but my basic read on it is that the entire Democratic Party, the political leadership, not every Democrat nationwide, but the political leadership of their party has got it into their heads that the only way to be compassionate is to be compassionate to illegal aliens rather than American citizens. If you go back to what Bill Clinton was saying, even Barack Obama in some cases, what he was saying about illegal immigration 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would put them on the MAGA right based purely on their rhetoric around illegal immigration. So I don't know why they've gone so far to the left. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for them politically. But our principle, all I can do is speak for the president that I serve and the country, the administration that I serve right now. We believe that the American people's government exists for the American people. That means the people who have the legal right to be here, and that's why we're fighting to reopen the government. And unfortunately, the Democrats are fighting to shut it down for the benefit of illegal aliens.
I mean, we all know it. Every Democrat knows, if you're a Democrat listening now, you know that I guess maybe I keep forgetting that 2016 is 9 years ago, so you could say 10 years ago.
It's so weird.
Because I keep wanting to say, no, it was just 5 years ago, and I forget time has moved quickly.
Well, someone wrote, I forget where it was, Wall Street Journal somewhere, about the whole Russian hoax thing, and said nearly 10 years. And I'm like, well, no, that was 20. Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Next year, it'll be 10 years.
It is. It's like, wow. But, we remember. We've been around long enough. You don't have to be around that long enough. But even 10 years ago, Democrats were absolutely no taxpayer funds for illegal immigrants. And we had played Hillary Clinton from a few years back.
Yep.
And we said, wow, she's MAGA.
Right.
All the Democrats were right-wing MAGA compared to what Democrats. Now, did they actually change the way that they believe? What was, and nobody asked that question, if Republicans changed on an issue as much as Democrats had on illegal immigration, these people that are still in political office, that question would be asked to them every single day.
Right.
It's not asked to Democrats. What was it that made you change from absolutely, here's the audio, here's what you said.
Right.
There doesn't seem to be any gray area there. Right. What made you change?
Well, and you heard it, we played the audio from Hillary saying it years ago on a couple of fronts, things that, again, sound very MAGA. She was passionate about it.
Oh, yeah.
She was passionate about it. Now, you could say, well, she was lying, and now she's admitting how she feels. I've never known her to lie.
We've always taken whatever she said as gospel truth.
But if you're on the left, you have to ask the question, because it's okay. We can change the nature of the question then. were you lying back then, or are you lying now? Or did you mean it back then? Did you have a change of heart? Explain yourself, please.
Yeah.
We've done this a couple of times with people on the right. What was it? Was it, what was it the cap and trade thing in the 2008 cycle?
Oh, with McCain.
Yeah, right. And we thought, all right, well, wait a minute. There seems to be a shift here. Sarah Palin at first Sarah Palin was the one that really kind of, because there was a question in a debate, vice presidential debate.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was.
And
it was the vice
the
presidential
question
debate, right.
was right before a break, right before a commercial break. Would you support cap and trade policy? And she said yes. And then they go to a break, and I'm like, whoa, there's no time for commercials.
And I'll let you know that we got harassed from Republicans for calling her out on that.
Yes, because I wanted to know, okay, wait a minute. No. That's not what I was led to believe, and that's not where you stood before. So the question is, all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here. Is this a change of heart? And if so, tell me when you had that change of heart and what brought that on something like that, on cap and trade, which is huge. And, of course, Obama won in 2008, we all know, and then went on with his version of cap and trade, which didn't require Congress, as we all know, and he implemented policies that killed industry.
Well, when she said it, I'll never forget, you and I were like, what in the world? And people are like, well, maybe it's new. There is no nuance to cap and trade.
Right.
All right. And as we said at the time, and we were right, but I remember we were so shocked because she's from Alaska.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, and that's the thing is that we inevitably got people wanting to explain it like they were projecting it, either onto her or they were out explaining it for her. No. I need her to explain that to me. I need to hear the change of heart. And if you're somebody on the left, and let's just say you voted for Hillary Clinton back in 2016, and you see what's going on now versus what she said back, in the day when the audio that we played, then you've got to ask again, if you're being intellectually honest, well, wait a minute, where's the change of heart? Or are you lying now? Or were you lying then? It's got to be, there had to have been something that happened, because you're saying the opposite today. And not only are you saying the opposite, basically anybody with a different view than yours is a fascist and a bigot. And those are the things that we look at, is that there is clear conviction. Now, it could be that they took the lead from Eric and Gary when we said years ago, you need to own it. They're still not fully owning it, because there are things they just won't say out loud just yet. They're getting pretty close to fully owning it, though. We talked about that the other night. But here we are. There's no mistake as to what they want to do. New York City is about to go full communist. Man. Everybody's going to be, all the voters that vote for Mamdani are going to be handing in their freedom card. Here you go. Take my freedom card. I don't need it. I don't want it. That's,
again, it's a little bit shocking, but it's not. He is so blatantly a Marxist, where it's like, well, even in New York City. But when you think about it, we've always gone back, because people view that as minor. It's no big deal. Well, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And we go back to the soda pop size, cup size, where they wish to regulate it. And we always remember that poll saying 42% of New Yorkers loved it. And we just remember, and again, it was, I'm sure, a small sampling of New York because they have millions of people, so we didn't take millions of comments on it.
Right.
But I'll never forget the ones that we did. And the one guy that said, I can't stop smoking cigarettes. I can't stop drinking. I need someone to run my life as an adult.
Right.
And that's when I believe you came up with the freedom card idea.
Right.
The people that wish to be free get a freedom card. And if you don't,
you can turn yours in.
You can turn yours in, and then the government will control you completely. But you've got to pay for the extra cost of government taking care of you.
That's right. You take on that cost.
Goal.
Take on that cost. Not the billionaires and the millionaires and the huge corporations, which, by the way, wouldn't pay for it all. In fact, they would leave New York. It's going to have to be the people. If you want that, you're going to have just as with communism, you're just going to work for the government. You're going to listen. They'll give you what you need. You get bread, you get meat, you get vodka.
Could we expand? I think will there be alcohol subsidies? Yeah, right. Democrats now discussing alcohol subsidies, that it should go more than just vodka.
Well, these days it would have to be weed too, right?
Oh, weed subsidies,
right?
Fireball shot subsidies.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have tasted the Fireball shots. It does taste. I mean, it does bring back my youth. Not drinking shots, but the Fireball.
Well, it
tastes just like a Fireball.
The stuff where they're putting all the flavors in all of it. Yeah. It's like, well, no, I just want the candy. It's like the hard soda. Well, no, just give me a grape soda.
When I saw the grape soda, I've never had one, but every time I go by it, I look at them. I mean, and we're talking over a decade now of walking past it and saying, "Wow, man, that grape soda." But it's not the alcohol content. It's like I haven't had a grape soda in such a long time.
Well, it's like the ice cream that has candy bar bits in it, and then you spend 2 hours picking out all the candy bar bits, and then you realize I could have just bought a candy bar.
Yeah,
I guess that would have been easier. Not as much fun, maybe. Yeah, but we are at that point because here's my curiosity going off in this whole experiment that New York City is about to venture into. Because, we joke about vodka subsidies or weed subsidies, but there are going to be groups lined up to Mamdani and at his office asking for everything, all of it. Remember when Obama, with Hope and Change, which, by the way, if in realist terms, hope translates into diddly, and change translates into squat. If you're going to be, though, on board for this big communist, you're a voter in New York City, you vote for Mamdani, look what all he's going to do. Remember, with Hope and Change, he's going to do Obama's going to provide all these things for me, all these things. And by the end of his 8 years, they were like, he didn't do anything for us. And now they can't keep up with the Obamacare exchange rates without a ton more federal money. We're at that point, which was inevitable. But in New York City, it's like they're, again, their own little experiment. They think they can get this done. They're going to be lined up. Special interests will be lined up. People will be lined up expecting something from the mayor's office, a new thing every day. It might be subsidies for edibles because what are you going to say, right? It's therapy. It's therapeutic. So if we're going to be helping with medication, if we're going to be helping with, everyday sustenance and housing and all of this, then, of course, I'm going to need my therapy.
I don't even have to sell it that way.
Uh-huh.
I can sell it in a blunt way, for gosh sakes.
I want to get high? Oh.
Hey, if it was absolutely necessary to keep liquor stores open, then we need to subsidize edibles.
Yeah.
Liquor stores open during
COVID.
COVID, right?
Right. Yeah.
That they were viewed as necessary. Well, then if liquid drug is viewed as necessary to keep open during COVID, then all drugs should be subsidized for the American public for their health and welfare.
They're going to be putting a dog vest around a joint saying this is my emotional support weed. It's and they'll probably get it. They'll probably get it.
This is my emotional.
Why would you?
Emotional support weed.
Why would you turn it down?
I can't get through a day without it, just like my dog.
Right.
God, you can justify anything. In 2025,
you can
justify almost anything, can't you? As something that's a necessary service from the government.
Because feelings.
Wow.
Because feelings. Both my dad and your dad would be going, what?
What the hell?
What?
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Like the chief financial officer of any company, you have to be concerned about rising costs, especially without increases in revenue. Trying to reduce costs, let alone make sense of them, can be a complicated task. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. A penny saved could be $1,000 earned. Saving just 1 penny per mile over 100,000 miles driven annually will deliver $1,000 to the bottom line at the end of the year. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, this audio cut comes from somebody who's I've seen on Newsmax quite frequently lately. We played him yesterday. He's an investor out of Florida, James Fishback. And he's the one who said, no, to Rick Scott, stop telling the people of New York you can leave Mamdani and come to Florida. Don't come to Florida. Stay there. But here he is. This is really interesting as we talk about the budget. And remember, the Democrats always saying more money, more money, more money, more money.
Yeah.
Makes a great point here about the last couple of years. Here we go.
The federal government budget is 54% higher today than it was right before COVID in 2019.
Yeah.
For the viewers at home, ask yourself, is your life 54% better? The government services, the government response, is it 54% better than it was before COVID? The answer is obviously no. We got too many bureaucrats, too much spending, Doge the entire system. Yeah. Let's do round two of Doge, a turbo Doge speed run over the next month, by virtue of this government shutdown.
I mean, a 50, that's actually a shocking statistic because, like, if someone agrees that they are 54% better off, they've clearly not been to the DMV.
The federal...
Well, I'll actually say that my last trip to the DMV last year was, you know, you have to make an appointment and everything else, but it was the best DMV experience.
Yeah.
Now, that's state run,
right?
But it was the best DMV experience I ever had.
Yeah. Now, you can do walk-ins. I wouldn't recommend it these days.
Yeah, you can do, yes, but yeah.
But the appointment version of it is, you know,
it took me 2 months, the appointment, but when you realize you can go and get it, over 2 years early.
Yeah.
You can go and apply for 2 years earlier.
And I chose one in a small town 2 blocks north of where my parents live because I was going to see my parents one weekend and got in like a week and a half, and it was a few minutes I spent in there. So, yeah.
But to expand on that and the latest job numbers out, the private job numbers coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. You know, when we played that audio cut, Eric, from that Florida investor that said 54% increase in outlays in the federal government. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you feel 54% better? This is the entire thing. You and I got to find the audio cut. If we don't play it today, we'll play it tomorrow. And this was what's his name, the senator from Arizona, the astronaut. Kelly.
Yeah, Mark Kelly.
Mark Kelly.
Yeah.
Where he was saying, well, we should limit, the amount that billionaires can have.
Right.
I was amazed at somebody who is an astronaut who you would feel that is somebody, a person of science, would understand economics in some way, completely clueless. He sounded like a child. But when you look at, but that's for another day, but that just popped into my head. But when you think about the problem that we have today, the biggest problem that we have is fiscally. And you go back to the foundation of this country, and you go back to the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. There's a book I read a long time ago called Founding Brothers that talked about the one problem that will never go away as long as the United States exists is the thought of a big central government versus a small central government. It's still the one debate that has gone through everything, and every single day we talk about it, because it's our number one problem. Because we have a federal government that can borrow money, that's the biggest problem that we have today. Mm-hmm. And when you go back and you look at the old Federalist Party, if you go through and look at some of the Anti-Federalists that were looking at it and saying, we don't want a big central government. You know, you go back to the Patrick Henrys, the Samuel Adams, Jefferson, Madison, whatever. Mm-hmm. They all looked at it and they just said, got to be careful. But even when you look back at what those that would be viewed as wanting a big central government back then, the big central government to them compared to where it is today, I'm sure the vast majority would say, what the hell? This is completely and totally unacceptable. But it gets down to the fact that, as you and I have talked about, everything that we want to fund right now, nobody wishes to pay for today. You solve that problem if you have a smaller federal government and states take care of themselves. But it's the reason, and that's what forces that's what, because government doesn't, the federal government can have a monopoly and dictate whatever they want. States can't do that. And so the marketplace is much more likely to rise to the top because you don't have a monopoly of a state, of a huge state, which is the United States, to control and put out rules and regulations to control the economy. But you also have more fiscal sanity because the government is closer to the people and the government can't borrow money. The state governments can't borrow money the way the federal government does. They can put out bond issues and things like that, but they can't borrow money in the same way. And you think about it, the biggest problem, when we say we're doomed, we're saying that because of the fiscal insanity that we're involved in right now. And it brings out the worst. It brings out the worst of human beings in the United States without even recognizing it, which is the common belief that debt isn't going to bother us, and we just don't think about who we're putting the debt upon in the future. We just don't care. It doesn't become an issue because neither side will actually discuss the seriousness of it or the immorality of doing that. And so we just continue with, as we're doing today. Rand Paul said, well, okay, the Republicans will increase the debt $2.5 trillion or whatever it is, $2 trillion, and the Democrats will do it $3 trillion. Both are unsustainable.
Right.
And it's all because, and we will go back to that healthcare debate here. 3 states have attempted to do statewide healthcare, government-funded healthcare completely, all failed. In all those 3 liberal states, all 3 of them failed because nobody wanted to pay for it up front.
And the person in California that was responsible that said we've got to put a funding mechanism in the bill got death threats for bringing that up.
Yeah.
There was no funding mechanism in the bill in California.
And
so they couldn't get it done.
And that's the problem. Because the incentive is, it's like the incentive of somebody who has a credit card and you give them a credit card, and there's no discipline or controls on it.
Right.
You have whatever cap you want.
Right.
We don't care whether you can pay for it. Just,
and
make the minimum payment. Make the minimum payment. You look at the philosophy of the minimum payment. The minimum payment is much like where we are in the federal government right now. Is it not?
No. In fact, we're more and more struggling to make even the minimum payment. The interest alone.
Yeah.
The interest payment on the national debt is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And we don't care. And now the younger generation, the generations behind us, they're having fewer kids. They don't even care that if you tell them it's going to fall on the backs of their kids. I'm not having kids.
It's a great point.
So it's going to be paid for by nobody.
Well, it's your fault for having kids.
Exactly.
See what you're doing? You're having kids, and you're having kids. You're the problem.
Right. And somebody had you, too. So that's sometimes you have to remind them of how biology works. They don't get biology in schools anymore.
That's a good
they don't
response.
teach it.
You were born too.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. You're here as a result of that same behavior. But that's, that is the mindset. But over and over again, look, we've become the fiscal conservatives in this country. We have become a very small group. It's almost like we have to have meetings at speakeasies, but except for it's quite the opposite. We're trying to be loud about it, but nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. It's a very small group of us that are greatly concerned about the future of this nation. Because at that point, when we can no longer service the interest on the debt, God help us.
And I love when someone writes, you guys are just Debbie Downers all the time. It's not a problem. Well, I can understand you saying that because when you don't want to confront something and it's fearful, the next thing you do is you attack the messenger on it. Not many of our audience, I want to make this clear. We don't get much of it from our audience.
No, we don't.
We have gotten it.
It's like, but again, it's like Joey Pants in The Matrix. He's sitting there and he goes, I know I'm not eating a steak, but it tastes like a steak. Ignorance is bliss. That's really where the people who don't care about the national debt are. I just want what's mine today, and someone else can worry about it tomorrow. That comes from years of conditioning.
Well, looking at here at the jobs numbers, because we're not, from what I know, we're not going to have a government jobs number come out this Friday.
We won't see one. I know that a couple of the reports have been delayed so far this week.
Ron was telling me across the window that we have the farm report,
USDA, yep.
in the show. It's like,
yeah,
they haven't noticed. Not going to be any farm reports coming down for a while.
The construction spending report that was supposed to be out yesterday, but the ADP report. This is a private sector payroll company, and their median forecast was for 45,000 on the plus side, came in at a negative 32,000. That's a swing of 77,000.
It doesn't count government jobs, but there isn't an expectation that there were a ton more government jobs that were actually created. In fact, that's
these
been
are
going
private sector jobs,
right in the opposite direction. Looking at it here from the Wall Street Journal, the leisure and hospitality sector shed 19,000 last month, the largest decline among major sectors. According to ADP, education and health services were bright spots. As we know, that's all they talk about, education and health services, because so much of that is government spending in there. Was a gain of 33,000. The gap between small and big establishments continued to widen. Small establishments with fewer than 50 employees shed 40,000 jobs, while those with 500 or more employees added 33,000 jobs. ADP's report is based on data from more than 26 million workers whose employers use ADP to manage payrolls. It is the largest sample of U.S. private sector employment, which includes about 136 million workers. ADP figures sometimes diverge widely from BLS figures, which are based on a broader survey of employers. Right. Still, ADP's methodology was substantially revised in 2022 in an effort to make it an independent reading of the labor market as opposed to a forecast of the BLS readings.
Yeah.
As a result, economists say the ADP's numbers have become more a useful measure. In recent months, the ADP report registered weakness in the job market before it showed up in the revised official figures from the government. Mm-hmm. There you go. Mm-hmm. Economists polled by the Journal had expected the BLS September job numbers to show a gain of 51,000 private sector and government workers, but that's not going to come out now.
Right. Yeah, the overall median forecast.
By the way, that's not good.
Right. No.
Even if they hit 51,000, that's not something to be, jumping up and down about.
No, I mean, when you think about it, look, we if you're talking about solid growth, you're talking about what, 150,000? Roughly. I mean, when things are chugging along. That's why before, when we looked at it, and I forget, I think it was last month, the median forecast was 75,000. I thought, well, that's not like huge for again, if they had hit that and they didn't hit the median forecast, and if it's at 51,000 now, then, whenever we get that report, I don't know when that will be, but I'm anxious to see what it will be, what it will show. We know more employers are, again, you pull back. You're pulling back. The question is, how far do you have to pull back? You're creating more efficiencies. There's a lot going on right now in the jobs market that's pushing this kind of behavior from these employers, and I don't know where that ends.
By the way, Sherry writes to me, Gary, but for states to manage their own citizens, a federal income tax would have to go away. Then who would pay the national debt? I wasn't saying it was going to happen, that we would be in a society that way. I was pointing out why the problem exists.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. And part of what you do is what the Republicans are doing. If states wish to have medical care on their own, let them do it. You do it issue by issue is how you do it. You don't let the federal government grow larger. You attempt to restrict it if you understand what the problem is.
Right.
Or you would hopefully look to restrict it if you know what the problem is.
Yeah.
No, I am under no delusion, because if I was under the delusion that could happen, I would be deluded.
Yeah, there'd be a problem.
There'd be a problem because it's not going to happen.
Nope.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, you got to love this story in this headline. Hamas signals that it could reject Trump's Gaza peace plan that only serves Israel's interests.
Is that the Babylon Bee?
I know. It's just like,
I mean,
Hamas is telling, look, you need to serve Hamas's interest as well as Israel's interests.
Yeah. I didn't, again, have any faith at all that Hamas was going to agree to it. It was, again, as if the U.S. and Israel stepped up and said, hey, we got an idea. And, Hamas isn't at the table. It's because every story covering that event included the line, of course, it has to be agreed upon by Hamas. Well, no kidding. Like they put an asterisk, in the story. Oh, that's, if Hamas agrees to. That's a huge if. And I have zero confidence that they're going to agree to everything. They don't want to give up every hostage. The hostages are their leverage. Mm-hmm. They don't want to give that up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.